are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
Hello, 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 and welcome once again to another Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month of September. Thank you very much for everyone who decided to join us today. I'm looking forward to continuing where we left off with one of our previous shows. And before we get into that topic of are you being harassed by a debt collector, I just wanted to thank everybody, thank the people in the background, Jasmine and Matt, Yana, everyone who makes this possible for us every Tuesday, and thank you, the viewer, who could be doing something else, getting their children ready for the upcoming school year. You probably are at work, finishing up your day, or you're sitting at home on your couch and wondering what is there to do. Well, I'm now here to show you what there is to do. My name is Tyrone Glover. I'm the Leverage Credit Recovery CEO, and it's that time. It's Tuesday. It's time for me to give you some more valuable information that pertains to credit. Are you doing what you should be doing? Are you allocating? Are you securing? Are you looking in the areas of how can I best get my best foot forward when it comes to credit? And one of those things that we do here is we not only tell you how to, we show you how to, and we guide you through some of the particulars. And one of those things that we are 100% sure of is that we're seeing a lot of individuals who are now being, shall we say, I don't like to use the word harassed because that's really not a very nice word, because I think due to the laws now, they've stopped harassing, but they're still doing things that are questionable. So their best practices might be questionable. So are you still having concerns or matters that are related to debt collectors? Here is the perfect segment to get you into a better understanding and also help you with resolving some of those concerns. All right, so again, thank you, everybody. I want to give a shout out to the creator, because without him, none of this would be possible. And we're just going to jump right on into it. Are you being harassed by a debt collector, a law firm? Are you dealing with a lender who might have added something to your credit profile? If that's the case, no need to worry. This part of what we're going to be showing you today is going to help you with navigating, seeing through, making sure that you are on the right track to eliminating. Got to remember this. This is about eliminating the debt, regardless of whether you own the debt, meaning you were the one who executed the debt and you fell on hard times, regardless if this was a third party, meaning the original creditor passed it over to a third party. It doesn't matter, because there are certain laws and protection that protect us all as citizens. And as long as you understand those laws, you then can exercise it. But if you don't know your rights, and I tell it to everybody, if you do not know your rights, you do not have them. So let's go ahead and dive right on into the subject matter. And I'm going to move a little bit ahead because some of this we've already seen in the previous videos. This is just a follow-up. And I thank you for allowing me to continue this. But we're going to go skim through the overview right here. Are you being harassed by a debt collector? And here are some of these important key takeaways. Debt collection companies. Debt collection companies must follow the laws under the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act, which, when trying to collect a debt, regardless of whether or not you owe the debt collection agency, are not allowed to harass you or use unlawful practices in order to collect. And this is what's so good about this law. If you know it, again, they will attempt to circumvent it, but if you are up on the law, there's nothing they can do. If it were to end up in a court situation, as long as you have your documents, this is what I'm going to be emphasizing and stressing along this particular session that we're doing, is that you start creating files for Equifax, for TransUnion, and Experian, and equally if you have some situations that are going through the courts, whether it be a judgment or summary judgment, or whether it be some form of a garnishment, it doesn't matter. A lien, start putting these things into separate files, because if you do have to go to court, the courts are going to want to see your documents. All right? If you have been harassed or your rights under the FDCPA has been violated by any of the agencies, you may be able to sue and collect monetary awards for damages. So again, you have laws. Please allow for those laws to execute. If you are unsure, it's time to now reach out. For those of you who may be going through the moratorium, that moratorium is a bad debt for a landlord. That landlord, if they are smart, they probably already wrote that item off. If they are criminal, they wrote it off, and now they're still trying to collect from you. That's called overbiffing. You cannot do that. You cannot overstate your true value of your loss. And if they're doing that, they're committing fraud, and you, as the potential third party that is now going to be dealing with these moratoriums in court, you're going to have some leverage if you can show that that's what they're doing. And my job is to help you now navigate through and also be able to present, because the landlords are the ones who has this information. You don't. All right, so what is a class action lawsuit? These are the big ones. This is where you get multiple individuals. Class actions are about multiple individuals. A class action is when many people have the same complaint with a company. Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, they are dealing with these types of understandings all the time because they are violating. They are violating the laws. These individual companies are for-profit companies violating the law. They get hit with multiple millions of dollars in lawsuits all the time, but due to the bad debt deduction, they're able to turn right back around, write these off, and not feel one pinch. So it's our job now to understand the whole gamut of the class action. How does it work? And what do we need to require of these companies? Not just the fine. I think we should be looking at now, can we get rid of these entities that are habitual abusers? And that's what we should be more or less looking at. Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, they receive all of your information voluntarily. So if a company is receiving your information voluntarily, then there can't be some form of benefit to you, the consumer. There is no benefit. And this practice has been going on for a long, long time. All right, so it's very important that we understand to take action against Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. You can do it on your own, but to get the biggest bang for our buck, our consumer buck, is to more or less be looking at class action where you can really hammer the point home to the multiple egregious violations that Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian commit on a day-to-day basis. Class action lawsuit. That's the remedy. That's the options that are out there. And I hope that all of you do, after you've seen this, you go back and you look at some possibilities of, can I join a class action? Can I be part of a class action? Yes, yes, and yes. If you're wanting to get some bang for your buck when it comes to Equifax Change in Experience, class action lawsuit, you can deal with them individually. They're going to give you a hard time because they're obstructioners, they're delayers, they're preventers, those frontline employees who are going to tell you absolutely nothing because they're not decision makers. They're going to give you smoke and mirrors. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to leave it for another 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, whatever time frame, 24 months, because that's exactly what those frontline employees are there to do. They're not there to assist. They're there to delay, obstruct, and prevent you from executing your God-given rights. So dealing with common credit report errors. Do you have damaging errors on your credit report and need help? And this is another one where we as consumers, we're looking at our credit reports most of the time and we aren't quite sure what we're actually reading. Those are line items. Each one of those credit items is called a line item. And that line item means that I have put myself into a contractual obligation with a particular entity, and that entity is now hoping that I live up to my end of the bargain. Same thing applies with you. If you get into a contractual relationship and say, for instance, they're supposed to report on a certain day and they don't report on that certain day, that means they have not lived up to their end of the bargain. It's a two-way street, folks. It's a two-way street. You equally have to hold them accountable. They are definitely going to hold you accountable. But if you do happen to see some errors, know what these errors are and how much of an impact they may have on your credit report. And if you do, for whatever reason, get stuck, challenged with whatever, it doesn't matter. Leverage credit recovery. This particular show is all about information. It's all about making sure that you have what you need so that you can get the resolve that you're looking for or seeking. Some of the most common errors that you'll find: outdated information. That means that information is either on your report that has passed the statute of limitations, or it's not even yours to begin with. All right, so it's really important. Old information that no longer is relevant. An address that is on your credit report is old information that is no longer relevant. And if you were to just send in a personal information correction letter, you can see your score go up 60 points by them removing addresses that are not your legal address. Clerical errors. Clerical errors can impact your credit score. Make sure your loans and credit types are listed and labeled correctly. If they're not, then the whole purpose for the credit report and for the laws is about accuracy. Please make sure that you are accurately living up to the contractual obligation, and that equally the party that you're in this contractual obligation with is equally living up to that understanding as well. Mistakes cost you dearly. It costs the institution absolutely nothing. So please be careful when you're reading these line items. Mistakes and merged accounts. I've seen it on multiple consumers' credit reports, multiple, on all three that we are currently talking about, Equifax Change in Experience. Identity theft is on the rise. They just was talking about two-factor. Please make sure that you're using two factors to make sure that when you are logging in, you get another, say, a chime on your, whether it be your text or whether it be through your email, that you have to go back into two-factor check to make sure that your device or you are the individual who's actually executing this particular process. It's really important to understand identity theft along with other fraudulent activities due to the means in which we're using technology. If you're not checking your credit reports, if you're not making sure that all of the information that we've been talking about thus far is correct, you're leaving yourself open, vulnerable to mistakes, mishaps, decreasing credit scores, and not understanding why you're not able to get the credit products that you are rightfully entitled to. Incorrect criminal records, backgrounds. Again, all of this information that ends up on your credit report has to be accurate. And if you're not checking it, it's accurate to the individuals who are voluntarily providing it. And trust me when I tell you, your monitoring service is not monitoring your reports, because they don't even understand the definition of monitoring. All they're doing is getting the information, leaving it, and sending you a bill stating, oh, your update is there. They're getting the information, they're leaving it, and they're sending it to you as in the form of a bill saying, oh, here, you can review your credit report. Yes, the monitoring, the credit karmas, the sesames, if I'm not mistaken, my apologies, the identity IQs, the credit checks, the My FICO. These locations, again, the majority of them do not have phone connects that you can connect with. They do not have proper email understanding, that if you had to send someone an email, it's going to take you 5 to 7 business days for them to respond back to you. Again, some of these understandings I don't even get. Why would a business not have a phone contact? Or they're using these so-called bots, these bot responses. This is a problem, and this problem needs to cease, or these companies need to cease existing, because they're not helping the situation. They're only making the matters worse. So credit reports say you are deceased. If you're dead, that's going to be a challenging one to overcome. No matter what you present, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, they're going to believe on paper that you're dead versus believing you. So that's one that I really have not encountered, but I had individuals who have encountered them. And actually, there was if I'm not mistaken, a Lester Holt, ABC, I think that's where he is, or NBC, my apologies, where he did a coverage of something similar to what we're discussing right now, and it had to do with deceased individuals and how they could not regain their credit standing because it took them so long to convince, again, to convince another party that they were the party in actuality who was not deceased. All right, so you got something also called the OFA, which is Alert Office of Foreign Assets Control. Got to be careful, because, again, you could end up on a foreign assets control list saying that you're some kind of terrorist, saying that you're a drug trafficker, saying that you're a money launderer. So you got to be careful. Again, there's a telephone number right there at the bottom. If you still need assistance, please reach out to us, 1-805-428-9424, and we'll walk you through some of these common misunderstandings about your credit profile and how you get them removed. Incorrect. Oops, keep it moving. So what do you do once you find the item? Well, you can dispute it or you can challenge it. Now, a dispute, more or less, depending on the understanding of the words. Dispute means I did not do it, so I'm disputing everything. It had nothing to do with me, so I'm disputing it all. Challenge means is that this could potentially be mine. It's an alleged debt, and I'm now challenging the validity of all of the information within which entails or is part of this trade line. If you find any incorrect information on your credit report under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you have the right to dispute challenge until it is removed. The first step in disputing challenging credit report errors is to contact the company which issued the credit report. So you can always reach out to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian per the telephone numbers that you can find on their websites. For the most part, as I stated, I would not want to do any disputes through their online process, because that online process is flawed. It only limits you to a certain amount of disputes that they want you to execute on their website. So it's really important to understand the importance of not to do any disputes on their websites. You can call them, you can talk to someone, you can actually get them to remove things right then, right there, but do not do any disputes on their websites. It's really important that you keep a paper trail of whatever it is that you're doing. So we give you the tip to mail a credit dispute or challenge letter. Make sure you include a copy. Do not send the original of any documents which you may have to prove what you have reported in as an error. So a copy of the credit report is probably going to have to go with it. Your driver's license, a copy of your Social Security card, maybe even a valid item that can support your physical address, but your driver's license, which should have your actual address on it, that should be more than enough, and your Social Security. So these are items that they need to verify that you are who you say you are, and once they have identified it, they will continue to go through their investigative piece, and hopefully within the 30 days of you contacting them, they're able to resolve the matter. They can ask for an additional 15 days, and should they ask for that additional 15 days, that's all that means is that they need more time to investigate. If they do, and if you give them that 15 days, that means by the end of that 45 days, you should be getting in return, you should be getting the original, a new copy of your credit report, and you should be getting a copy of the updated investigation. If both of those things do not accompany, that means, again, they have violated the law. They have violated the law, and you can hold them accountable for not living up to their contractual obligation. They don't have a contractual obligation to me or you. They have a contractual obligation to the regulators who've given them the permission to actually do this form of a task for us. Okay, so it's really important. Really important to understand. If you don't get back the items that are supposed to be accompanying your challenge or dispute, they have now violated the law, and you can now hold them accountable. The cost of a credit report error. Credit reporting errors are all too common, and many times if they are small in errors, you may just let them go, not knowing about it, or you may not know how to dispute the credit report in error. In any case, a small credit error can have severe consequences for your financial future. So don't think just because it's a small thing, $1, $2, $3, whatever it might be, late payments, charge-offs, collections, it doesn't matter. If there's an error, that error needs to be corrected. And if that error is not corrected, the consequences could be severe and they could be dire. So please, the cost of an error on your credit report, no matter how small you might think it is, could turn out to be a large, huge, unforeseen, and just knew what and where to look on their credit report. Importance for your credit score. Credit errors can have serious, your credit score is a number created by credit reporting agencies that is put together based on information found in your credit report. Now, they call this proprietary information. They won't even tell us how they're putting the scores together. They're just going to go to Congress and tell Congress, oh, we can't talk to the consumer about the voluntary information that we get, and we're going to use high-tech weaponry to prevent them from even knowing how we're calculating the scores. That we get, and we're going to use high-tech weaponry to prevent them from even knowing how we're calculating the scores. That just doesn't sound right. Can you imagine going to school and taking a math test or a science test, social studies, it doesn't matter the subject matter, and the teacher told you, well, I'm not going to tell you how I'm grading your test, but I might use 17 different matrices or metrices to determine your score, or I might just use this teacher guide. They're not going to tell you what they're going to use. They might go to another teacher and say, hey, you grade these, but don't tell me what the score is, or don't tell me the method you use. Just grade it. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. That's basically what they're telling you about your credit score. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to you how we grade it. Just take our word for it, that we are doing our best with your voluntary information to make sure that you are going to get exactly what you're entitled to. It's not going to happen. The most commonly used credit score is the FICO score. This score is used by lenders, banks, credit card companies, etc., in order to determine the likelihood that you will repay your debt. This scoring mechanism is flawed. I'm sorry to have to put it out there like this, but it is flawed. Just in one instance, the category of paying your bills on time. When you pay your bill on time, that category weighs 35 points. That means you get your bill, it's got a due date on it, and you pay that bill on time. That's 35% of your overall credit score. In that category alone, they have 7 different criteria that they use before they even give you that point. 7 different criteria. Now, to me, it only looks like it would need to be 1. Did you pay your bill on time? The biggest overall issue with that category is that they have 7 criteria. Why? For 1 question. You either paid on time or you didn't. It's just that simple. So when it comes to our credit reports, we have to understand everything. You can't have a company who's going to tell you, I'm not going to divulge how we're grading your credit. Not going to tell you. I'm just going to have you look at your credit, and you're going to have to go, it is what it is. And every time you call to reach out to somebody, they're going to tell you the same thing. It is what it is, when it's not the truth. For the most part, African Americans, individuals of color, we should be questioning every item on our credit profile, every item. And we should have started last year. We should have started prior to the pandemic. We should have started back in the state of New York. We should have started prior to me even creating and establishing a for-profit business. We should have started decades ago. It should have been in our schooling systems. It should have been something part of our day-to-day, which our employers should be making sure. You want a good employee? Start teaching them about their credit profile. You want a good employee? 300 to 850. 300 the lowest. That means you're kind of invisible. It means you haven't really established yourself. 300, I really haven't seen anybody with the 300. I've seen plenty of people with 450s, but I haven't seen anybody yet with the 300. I've seen plenty of people with 450s, and I've also seen some people with 0. The higher the score, the better it is, no question. The lower the score, the more, shall we say, the industry sees you as being a risk. And to be honest with you, due to the bad debt deduction, which is IRS 403 bad debt deduction, you're not even a risk when it comes to that, because all businesses, every single business has the opportunity to write off their losses and get nearly 99.9% of their money back. That's just the way the tax code has been written for businesses. So there is no risk to a bank, an alternative lender, anyone. There is 0 risk, but yet they're going to keep perpetrating that fraud that there is. We could be losing money. You're not losing any money. You might lose out on a little bit of interest. Yes, you might. But if you got a car and that car didn't make it to its full term, and due to whatever reason that car got voluntarily repossessed or it got repossessed, that lender comes, grabs the property, sells the property, and due to how they have manipulated the entire financial understanding that you got yourself into, they're going to then attempt to try to get back the more premium and that interest. When in all actuality, they know exactly that. Go right onto them books. It's a choice. It's a choice. They do not have to come and pick up that vehicle. They do not have to repossess. They could do what I've been enticing more people to do, more businesses to do. Reorchestrate the loan. Renegotiate the terms and conditions. If you do that, you get to hold on to your property, you get to keep your good standing, and you get to tell that business, you want to do business with me? Let's renegotiate. But if you think for a second that I'm just going to give you this product, or you're going to take this product and then I'm going to be beholden to all of the now not non-negotiable items, no way, no how. We're smarter, we're intelligent, we're bright people. Stop getting played. So here's some of the errors on your credit report. can cost you thousands, as we've already talked about. An error on your credit report can lower your score. A low score can be damaging and hurt you in many ways, including higher credit card interest rates, higher home and car insurance premium, higher home mortgage rates. If you can't, it can affect your U.S. government clearance, because now you're someone who it could call compromisable. High private student loans, which this right here, I'm almost certain that this category, when it comes to that high private student loan interest rates, that category is going to be removed due to the $3.5 trillion that's going to be pumped into this economy on the human infrastructure. If it's anything that I'm hoping for, I'm hoping that it's higher than the 50,000, but the 50,000 is going to allow for students to at least get a foot in the door when it comes to improving that credit. Loss of a job opportunity since, I believe, 2008, if I'm not mistaken, the employer was able to use your credit as a means of job reference. So please, again, in this area, if it's on the application, you don't necessarily have to add that information. But as I've stated many times before, if it is on the application and you omit it, don't be surprised if you don't get that call. Because most employers are looking at, if you can't handle your own money, why would they want you handling theirs? And denies of loans and credit offers. So we really want to be careful. We really want to make sure that all of our information, it's always about the data, folks. The score is just an additive. The data creates the score. So if the data is incorrect, automatically the score is incorrect. All right, be careful of credit repair scams. And that's why I put this here. Scams, that's exactly what they are. You can't repair credit. You can't even fix credit. There are many companies out there that prey on consumers with less than desirable credit. When a consumer is trying to get a loan that will help their family get a home, car, job, and their credit is making it difficult, it may seem like a great idea to work with a company that promises to repair your credit. Now, again, promises to repair. I use these words because I want to emphasize the fact that you cannot repair credit. You have to, again, identify your financial hardships, mishaps. Once you've identified them, then you're going to start working towards correcting them. Once you start working towards correcting them, then you're going to start allocating. Once you start allocating, then you're going to see, oh my God, this is where I'm spending the bulk of my money. Once you start allocating, then you're going to start deviating from the resources that do not provide information to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. If I'm using my debit card or my cash, the locations in which I shop at, they're just saying, thank you, please come again. Thank you, please come again. You need to make sure that whatever purchases you are doing, that these purchases are going towards something that's going to increase that credit score. The win is not your purchase. The win is when you are seeing a return on your investment. Okay? Consumers must be very careful when turning to credit repair companies. You can't repair credit. You cannot fix credit. You have to recover from financial harms. This is a decade of systemic financial harm for communities of color. And too many of us do not understand the severity of leaving certain things on our credit or not even having an idea of credit. Too many of the African Americans, too many of the Hispanics, and some Caucasians that I've spoken to as well didn't know some of the things that they should have known. This is where we can do better. It's not just about saying we're going to do better, but it's now about the actions of doing better. Signs you're dealing with a credit repair scam. If they are promised for a new identity or a fresh start with your credit history. No. Nobody's giving you a new identity. If someone brings that up, no, you should be putting on the brakes. If payment is requested before any services have been provided, we provide a upfront free. Free. I'll give you so much information that you'll probably want to say, oh, I can do this on my own. That's what I want. I would rather have independent consumers who only need me just as a reference. That's perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. These are why we do these shows, so that we can get you more than enough information in hand so that you can go out there and say, I got this. But just in case you need that coach, just in case you need that handheld, just in case you need us, don't worry, Leverage Credit Recovery and Soul City Network is going to be here to make sure that you have what you need. All right? If they try to dispute information on your credit report that you know is accurate. Yes, accurate. Now, again, if there is some information within that report that is needing to be validated, then there's nothing wrong with that. You can challenge that all day. But if it's accurate to the T and you just want it off your credit report and you're going to operate with a scammer to do that for you, I would be very careful. If they tell you to lie on your credit applications, which there was a company that I was dealing with that literally told individuals not to pay their bills. Let them go into default. They'll help them out later on down the road. That's not what you do. Okay? You meet your contractual obligations or you renegotiate your contractual obligations. But to listen to somebody who's telling you to do something that's going to go against or create a fraudulent understanding, that's not what we do. If they don't explain your rights, you have rights. You have rights. Please execute those rights. If they tell you to use your CPN, which is a credit profile number, or a credit privacy number, or if they tell you to use your EIN, this is not the means and manners in which you should be addressing credit. If these are some of the approaches that some of these credit repair institutions actually are offering to you, those are red flags. And as soon as you get a red flag, thank you very much and depart. An EIN is an employee identification number from the IRS used for businesses. It is a federal crime to give an EIN under false pretenses. Credit repair scams may also have you change your Social Security number. Some of them give you a number to use that is stolen Social Security numbers involving you in identity theft. Okay? So please, if you don't know and they can't tell you exactly where that came from or that person is there, if you're going to operate with some of these types of companies, me personally, as soon as I got a red flag, I would be running in the opposite direction. So please do not set yourself up for failure. That's all that is. It's going to set you up for failure. So please be careful. So here are, should you have violations, cases, if debt collectors violate these laws, you are being harassed by a debt collector or receiving robocalls from a debt collection agency, whether you owe the debt or not. Fill out our web form or give us a call, 1-805-428-9424 for a free credit evaluation. We are a consumer protection advocate and activist with a proven track record in successful resolutions of credit challenges and disputes. We know the law, plus we've been doing this for 20 years. 20 years of expertise in fighting for you against illegal, harassing debt collection practices. And when I tell you, these individuals are good because as we get better at refuting and disputing and challenging, they're getting better at circumventing and preventing the law. All right? So you really, and because of the fact that they go into court with this understanding, the judge is, sad to say, some of these law firms that buy these debts, some of these collection companies that have been going in and out of the courtrooms 9 out of 10 times because they're not presenting all of the evidence, they're not presenting all of the findings, they're leaving you in the dark, and you get into court and you have zero clue, zero knowledge, zero understanding of what to do and how to go about expressing yourself. So we end up starting out the conversation with anger, with frustration, with bitterness. That's not the way you are supposed to be addressing this. Because again, you got to remember that opposing side is more or less colleagues with the individual sitting on that bench. So you got to be careful. You got to know your audience prior to. And that's why I encourage everyone who's going through anything that's either in the court or you're dealing with some form of debt collection, please, 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 I can only encourage that you reach out to Leverage Credit Recovery. We're going to be able to navigate, help you through, and possibly even get it removed where you do not have to come out of pocket for not one penny. What rights do I have when debt collectors or creditors are trying to collect money from me? You're protected under the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act. And this one allows, and it basically tells them, please violate the law. Please, because if you violate the law, as a consumer, I'm going to execute my rights. I know my rights when I'm dealing with debt collectors. They must follow the law. If not, you can sue the debt collectors for violating consumer protection laws. And I will love to help you with making sure that we get all of the necessary paperwork out, done, executed. And again, I'm telling you, this is all civil situations. You don't need a lawyer to go in there to charge you $700, $800, $900 an hour for something that you can do yourself. And I'm telling you right now, the success rate that we have is astonishing. It's astonishing. Whether we're going through court or whether we're dealing with it directly with Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. You need help, we are here to help you. You need assistance, we are here to help you. Why? Because the laws allow us to know what we need to do for you. And when you understand the laws and we give you that guidance, that coaching, that knowledge that you need, or you're going to go in there, you're going to be able to speak just like me when you go in there. Just like me. No anger, no frustration. You're going in there to execute law. You're not going in there to have a personal back and forth with somebody that you don't even know. They're trying to steal from you. And your job is to protect what they are attempting to get fraudulently. And I'm going to keep saying that, fraudulently. You do not owe a third party at all. If the original creditor is not the one coming after you, if the original creditor has not presented the documents that is needed in court, then you do not owe them not one red cent. Stop fighting these situations with your hands, both hands tied behind your back, and you're blindfolded. So what types of debt collection practices are not allowed? Obviously, harassment's not allowed. We know that. Use threats of violence or harm, not allowed. Publishing a list of consumers who refuse to pay their debts, not allowed. Offensive and profanity, not allowed. Repeatedly used to telephone or annoy someone, not allowed, which they still do that one, and calls before 8 a.m. or after 9 a.m. All right, so again, these threats, oh, we're going to sue you. Oh, we're going to garnish your wages. That's a threat. They cannot put this in a writing form, send it to you, tell them they're going to do to get you to do your part. That's not what they can do. What they can do is they can execute the process. If you're going to garnish my wages, or if you're going to put something on my credit report, then do it in the manner in which it's done per the law. And if you don't be surprised if I, as a consumer, then take you to task. This is what I want from all of you consumers. If you look like me, if you are part of the communities of color, we need to start adhering to this principle. Stop letting individuals take advantage of you. Please, stop. Stop. Debt collection is a predatory industry, and these individuals will do whatever they can to constantly keep making you believe that you owe them, when in all actuality, you do not owe a third party. You don't even owe the first party if the first party decided to execute the IRS 403 bad debt deduction. Just that simple. That's a choice. That is a business choice. If they execute that, then they have to present the document showing the loss, the true value of their loss. Because if it was say hypothetically, it was a $5,000 card, for whatever reason, that contract never went its full term. They decided to write it off. They then collect $4,999. But they're going to sell it to a debt collection company stating that you owe them $5,000. But they got back $4,999. You see where I'm going with the overbiffing? You see where I'm going with the not stating the true value of their loss? Because technically, the true value of their loss was only $1. And they are the parties that have the evidence that the courts would need to be able to say, fraud, number one, and we're dismissing it, number two, and you as a defendant, you should have some form of a grievance that would allow for you to countersue, and we'll help you out with that as well. All right, so there's just some of the common debt collection practices which are not allowed. False statements. Debt collectors cannot use any false or misleading statements when collecting a debt. For example, debt collectors may not tell you that they are an attorney or government representative. Falsely imply that you have committed a crime. Misrepresent their operation. All right? Misrepresent the amount you owe. That one is the big one. That's the one that I just talked about because they're overbiffing. They're not stating the true value of their loss. Indicate that paperwork being sent to you are not legal forms when in fact they are. States. So again, please be careful when you receive things in the mail that look like court items. Some of these items, if you were to go back and check through the court systems, you'd probably find out that these items didn't even go through the proper channels. They just, because of their quid pro quo, and I did use the quotes, quid pro quos that they have, these conflict of interest that a lot of these debt collections, law firms, again, that buy debt, they have these questionable understandings with court clerks, sometimes with these judiciary. You gotta be careful. If you do not understand your documents, please do not attempt to return them. Don't return them, because if you don't return them, that is equally a response. A non-response is a response. Thanks to Jamie Raskin of the Trump, I think it was the second impeachment, he made me smarter by using two words, adverse inference. That is where if you receive information that is requiring a response and you fail to respond, they can use your non-response as a response. So it's really important to understand why we do what we do, and you, the consumer, that ever understanding that you, the consumer, are going to need institutions like Leverage Credit Recovery, like Soul City Networks, like our wonderful, wonderful Dr. Yana B. Woodhouse, who understand these subject matters, these topics that are only going to help you with getting to that next level of wealth. We have to start thinking about, we have to start creating, we have to start getting into the understanding that if we're not creating wealth, our opportunities are going to be diminished more and more and more and more and more. 50 years from now, I do not want to have another situation where we're back in Washington having another 100, another 50, or if we take the last 50 and then we add another 50, that would be 100 years, and we're still talking about the same financial insecurities, the same financial harms and hardships that our communities has been suffering for decades now. This has to stop. And the only way for it to stop is Leverage Credit Recovery, Soul City Network, Facebook, all of the outlets that we have to present our information, are distributing it, are putting it out there in our communities, so our communities know that we have smart, intelligent, well-rounded, well-versed, articulate individuals who can navigate you through these falsities. It's really important that you understand Your community wants to help, but we need you to want your community to help you. It's just that simple. Threats to seize garnishment, and there it is. There it is. Threats to seize or garnishment. You can't tell me you're going to garnish my wages and don't do it. That's a threat. Okay? Threats that actions such as a lawsuit will be taken against you. Again, you can't tell me these things and don't do it. That's a threat. Giving false credit information about you to anyone, including credit bureaus. When they add information to your credit report, they have given false information because, again, the credit reporting agencies aren't validating this. They're not validating. They're getting information for free because it's voluntarily given to them, and they're not validating any of it. They're just adding it to your credit report. When you do have a monitoring system, you call them and you ask them, hey, what is this? They're going to just tell you what they're going to tell you. Oh, all we do is just monitor. Oh, we can give you some education on what you can do about it, but we don't know why it's here. All right, so really get to know your credit profiles in and out. Your documents, your data is going to determine whether or not you're going to get the credit product that you are seeking. Unfair practices. Debt collectors may not engage in unfair practices when they try to collect. For example, collecting an amount that is greater than the debt. This goes back to what I just said, that bad overstating the true value of your debt. Bad debt deduction eliminates this right here because it's now giving the original creditor a document which states this is what you're getting for this particular charge-off. And if they do not provide that document upon trying to collect from you so that you can use that document to offset, because again, if it's $5,000, they got back $499, you only owe them $1. So why are they trying to sue you for $5,000? Fraud. They're hoping that you are a consumer who is unaware of your legal rights. And as soon as you sign another contract with a third party or even with the first party, once you sign that contract, statute of limitations starts all over again. So please be careful. Some more unfair practices. Can a debt collector use an auto dialer or make robocalls to my cell phone? This is a beautiful one. This is this TCPA, is a Telephone Consumer Protection Act, which was passed in 1991. Okay, no, they cannot. If the consumer has been given that entity's express consent to call them on their cell phone, a company violates the TCPA. Every single time they call this device here, they are violating your statutory, and your rights. There is a statutory damage, generally from $500 to $1,000, if you are writing these calls down. Yes, you can create a call log, and anytime a debt collector calls your cellular device, that is a violation. TCPA, please remember that, Telephone Consumer Protection Act. Start writing these down. Start jotting these down. If they're calling you, if they're sending you correspondence, then these correspondents are using threatening verbiage. You have rights. Please start executing them. Can I stop a debt collector from collecting from me? Absolutely. You can get back into a negotiation. All debt is negotiation. Once the debt collector receives your letter, they may not contact you again, except to tell you what they're attempting or going to do forward. And then if they say, hey, let's get back into some communication, then at that point, you can get back into communications with them. But send them a letter first. Don't agree to anything unless you know your pockets are going to be able to meet that understanding. And remember, it's a negotiation. Do not take we can only take this. That's not how it works. If that's all they can only take, when you go into court and you have to express to the judge, well, I attempted to, on this occasion, to come up with some amicable understanding, and they kept refusing it, I'm almost certain the judge is going to tell them, well, they don't want no money. And then I would, at that point, ask for the judge to dismiss the case because I probably already have collected on it due to the bad debt deduction. Bad debt deduction. So very, very important. 403 bad debt deduction. 403 bad debt deduction. Please look it up. Very important. Can a debt collector contact anyone else about my debt? Absolutely not. No, they cannot. And if they do, again, falls right back under that privacy issue. Okay? The only thing a third party can tell you or tell another person is, I'm sorry, but that person is not here. That's it. They can't ask for any more information. They can't ask you to divulge, oh, can you give me their telephone number? Can you give me their address? No, they cannot. Okay? Just that simple. Just that simple. It's a fishing expedition. That's what they're on. Can a debt collector contact me at work? Absolutely not. It's not allowed. Now, they can make an initial, but in writing or something verbally, you can tell them, I do not, and my employer does not want calls from debt collectors. Can I dispute a debt at any time? Absolutely. We encourage you to dispute or challenge. Again, dispute means I didn't do it. Challenge means I'm challenging the validity of items on the credit report. So if you know for a fact that it's not yours, dispute it. Dispute it by giving them a courtesy call, talking with an individual on the phone. That individual, as I already indicated, they're probably more than likely going to be someone who's going to delay, prevent, obstruct. But if it is someone who understands the nature of the business, then they're probably going to do what I expect them to do, which is validate it. Once they validate it, they're going to take it off the credit report. What can I do if a debt collector violates the law? Well, as I've already said with the Telephone Act, $500 to $1,000. Same thing here. Damages, statutory damages up to $1,000. $1,000. And if you keep a proper ledger, you keep a proper understanding of, I sent out this credit report on this particular, to this particular entity, Equifax. I sent out this one to TransUnion. I sent out this one to Experian. And what have I gotten back in return? Absolutely nothing. Well, there you are. There's the violations. That's when the violations start. That's $3,000 right there. Do it again the next month. That's another $3,000. Do it again the next month. That's another $3,000. You now have $9,000 that they have violated. You can find a lawyer or you can represent yourself in court. $9,000 in statutory damages. I would love to help you file this. Court costs and attorney fees. You're not going to use an attorney because most attorneys, sad to have to say this, they are settlers. They're not fighters. Most attorneys, I'm sad to have to say this, are settlers. They do not fight. They only look at their bottom line because also the attorney profession, just like most professions, have turned into a business. They're not there to do or execute law. They're there to execute settlements. That's it. So as I stated, $1,000 you can get in statutory damages, and it's important that you understand your rights. What information must debt collectors tell me about the debt? Debt collectors must send you a written notice telling you about the amount you owe. Written within 5 days, you can within 5 days after they first contact you. The information must include the name of the creditor to whom you owe. This is where that adverse inference phrase more or less applies. If you get something in the mail, you need to mail something back out. Just that simple. If you get something in the mail, you need to mail something back out. That's just a correspondence, basically more or less stating, I need more time, or I disagree with your findings. Please do X, Y, and Z. Okay? This is keeping all of that legality exactly where they need to be. All right. Can a debt collector continue to contact me if I believe I do not owe? Absolutely. A collector may not. They can still contact you, but after that 30 days, after you receive that notice and you've put that in your information? Absolutely not. They can't. However, a collector can renew collection activities. This would be, as I stated, that form of renegotiation if that's the route in which you want to go. But you're going to set some stipulations and concerns to that understanding, that they're not going to be able to sell your debt to another third party, and that what you guys agree upon is going to be final. They will not put this on a, what is that, scheduled, there's a tax form, I can't remember it right now, but it is a tax form that it's like income. They're going to try to assume that your debt is now income. No, it doesn't work that way either. It's nice of these debt collectors, these law offices, even the courts to think that's how this works. That's not how it works either. They've been doing it for so long that it's become the norm, and now it's our job to break this vicious, disgusting cycle of debt collection. It's not the norm. It was never supposed to be the norm, and we now are setting the record straight. All right, you do have rights, and if you don't execute your rights, then clearly you're leaving it up to the debt collectors to do whatever it is that they want. Fair Credit Reporting Act is a federal statute enacted in 1970 to protect the rights of consumers and regulates the practice of those who provide information to credit reporting agencies, the agencies themselves, and credit report users. The FCRA states that the consumer can make a legal claim against and sue credit reporting agencies, creditors, and debt collectors who report information that is wrong. They are willfully reporting information that is wrong. CFPB knows about it, Congress knows about it, and now you, the consumer, knows about it. The attorney generals know about it. In all states, they know about it. A lot of the protection agencies within our own states know that these individuals are violating the laws. The reason why they're not doing anything about it, because not enough consumers are speaking up about it. If 10% of Yonkers, that's 2,000 people, or excuse me, 20,000 people, if 10% of Yonkers decided to take up arms when it came to class actions, oh, we could easily put Equifax TransUnion Experian right out of business. Right out of business. Because it wouldn't be about, oh, we're going to just pay a fine. It would be they can no longer exist. I still don't understand how Wells Fargo is still an operating financial institution with the egregious acts that they've created. I still can't believe that Equifax is still today operating with the egregious acts in its $780 million settlement for their fraudulent activity. I can't go to school and create situations that would shine a bad light on the school or my district and still expect to have a job, but yet these entities can do it over and over and over and over and over, and all they do is get hit with a small little fine, a large fine, don't do it again, and then they're right back out there committing the egregious abuses. Congress, state regulators, federal regulators, what are you doing? This is for you as well. Either you're going to, what was that saying? Either you're on my side, by my side, or you're in my way. You're going to have to decide. Congress, state regulators, local regulators, you're going to have to decide. So the Fair Credit Reporting Act offers specific consumer protections. If you have been victimized by the crimes of identity theft, or our consumer protection lawyers will do whatever they can do to ensure your credit and good names are not destroyed by credit reporting agencies and your creditors should this happen to you. We have lawyers, we have great individuals that we have partnered with to help us help you if that's the route that you want to go. But I personally say, get the knowledge, get the understanding, and move accordingly, civilly on your own. Pro se litigants. That's the course in which you should be taking. And there we are. We got through it. Ladies and gentlemen, we got through it. My name is Tyrone Glover. Again, this is Leverage Credit Recovery. Thank you so much for staying connected. Thank you so much for giving me your afternoon. Thank you so much for allowing me to do what I do every single Tuesday, which is give you as much important information as necessary because of you, without you, none of this would be possible. So thank you, everyone who gives us the time. Thank you, those in the background, Jasmine and Matt, for allowing us the platform. Thank you, everyone who took out this Tuesday to watch. Again, if you need me, please visit that website, leveragecreditrecovery.com. Shoot us out a quick email, leveragecreditrecovery@gmail.com. I can always be reached at 805-428-9424. I know that is a California or a West Coast area code. I'm comfortable with my number that I've had for now 20 plus years. And I think if I ever got rid of it, it would make me go crazy because I'd still probably be saying it. But thank you, everyone. This is always one of the best parts of my day when I get to come and express and talk to you. So thank you, everybody. Please continue to be safe, wear that mask, social distance, get vaccinated, whatever your concerns about what's going on with Delta or the new Mu, please, let's observe the science. Let's respect the science. Let's do what we need to do to stay ahead of the circumstances that could potentially cause us more harm. I appreciate you. Love you. Be safe, America.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.